We are so past the woke phase. Like, you still have some vermins lingering around trying to, force their ideologies into cinema. It's a money furnace. You're just burning money up. The woke shenanigans worked really well back in 2001, but now
Oh dear. It would seem that all is not well in the world of Supergirl, dear viewer. Not only did the movie get crapped on by every YouTuber with a microphone, but in a shocking act of corporate betrayal, even the mainstream shill media turned against it. And those guys will defend practically anything without a Y chromosome on the front cover. The film's last remaining hope was at the box office. I mean, plenty of crap movies have taken a critical mauling and still gone on to make like a shit zillion dollars. Maybe there was a third act redemption.
Yep, the Avengers made so much money through the woke crap. But they milked it all. They farmed everything. The soil is dead.
Waiting for our girl Kara after all.
Stumbles with 35 million debut. Remains number one with Toy Story 5. I want to watch Toy Story 5. I just want to see how bad it is. It's obviously no longer Toy Story anymore. It's Woke Story.
Well, the numbers are in and the final verdict has been rendered. This movie is an absolute, complete and total stinker. In the past month or so, the opening weekend projections have been revised down more times than a UK economic forecast, and it couldn't even hit that lowest of bars. Not only did it fail to take the number one spot, but with just...
God damn. Morbius? Marvel? Oh, wow. Superman is like one of the top, franchises in the world. I mean, well, one of the top brands in the world, and they managed to fuck it up with Supergirl.
37 million domestic. Supergirl performed even worse than Morbius, which managed 39 million. Damn, man, even the Marvels managed to bring in 46 million.
Black girl magic!
Make no mistake, Supergirl isn't just a run-of-the-mill flop or an underperformer. It is a fucking calamity for James Gunn, the DCU, and superhero movies in general.
So yeah, she apparently
Calamity for James Gunn.
Just a small bit of the story in this movie. Superman or the Kryptonians, when there's a red sun, they're basically mortals, right? They could die. And this girl, she went to like a bunch of places with red suns in order to feel mortal again, so she can get drunk on alcohol or drugs, get high on drugs or whatever. And she could just, be chill because she is so tired of the world. She is exhausted of the world. Like she behaves. Her background is that she is a jaded person, a jaded, wise, experienced person when she is 23 years old. When you're 23 years old, in the eyes of many, you're a kid. You're a kid. Okay, you're a toddler. Like maybe you can get away with it, if you look hot and you look like you have a serious demeanor to you. But this girl, she's like a goofball. She's a mega goofball. And they hired her they have her play the role of a jaded, hardcore, badass chick.
The DCU and superhero movies in general.
Look at this, like, look how suave she is. Like, oh, ooh, wow, I'm in so much danger. Oh my god, oh. And I'm not sure, but I think this is the point where she is in her mortal mode, where she could die by one bullet of regular lead bullets. Right? Don't act like you ain't scared of death, right? It's just It's just not real.
Oh, and the thing is, we all told you this was gonna happen. We saw the writing on the wall, we read the signs, and we formed the obvious conclusion that this film had about as much chance of success as an Airbnb in fucking Pripyat. Supergirl might be the most predictable flop in years, but what's important to understand here is why. Because there's already all kinds of bizarre myths and excuses popping up to explain it. And if you can't be honest about your own mistakes, then you'll never learn from them. And by golly, I want Hollywood to learn from this
Jason
one.
Momoa.
So with that in mind,
Is he
let us
Aquaman?
examine a few of them, shall we? Myth number 1 is that Millie Alcock is
She is not.
somehow to blame for all this shit. There's this weird attempt
She is not attractive. We need attractive actresses. Let's be real. Sex sells. Sex sells. Absolutely sells. Right? Scarlett Johansson made Black Widow pop off. Black Widow does not have an interesting story, okay? Scarlett Johansson's body sold the show.
going on to frame her as a Rachel Zegler type of actor, constantly shooting her mouth off about politics, feminism, disrespecting other actors and shit.
It's a pattern. If I was a producer of a movie, I would have all the actors sign a clause. You are not to talk about politics during and before the filming or before the release of the film. Period. Politics always fucks up the fucking movie. Every time an actor that wants to force their ideology down people's throats, it fucks everything up, right? Look at Expedition 33. A lot of those voice actresses, they are woke. They're mega woke. But they don't talk about politics. They keep that to themselves. And the game just did well. Period.
On men in general, and the thing is, it's just not true. Most of this is based around off-the-cuff remarks cherry-picked from much longer interviews that somehow became headline news. I mean, I'm definitely not saying she's perfect or anything, and if we're honest here, casting a relatively unknown 5'2" actress with the body of a child and a face that was always going to be compared unfavorably.
Yeah, she got the body of a child, but she has the face of a very unattractive 29-year-old woman.
To her predecessors was a bad move right from the start. It was always going to open her up to criticism, and boy did it come. But my point is, I don't think Millie Alcock is at fault here on a personal level. She doesn't really seem like a bad person. What she is young, impressionable, naive, and not particularly media savvy. And historically, there's no group of people easier to bait into saying something retarded than young, enthusiastic actresses that have gotten their first taste of fame and attention. Like this infamous red carpet interview where she clearly had a bit too much of the free champagne and was asked about Supergirl's perception as a queer icon.
It wasn't, but in honor of Pride Month, as I'm getting all these questions.
Oh, catering to the LGBT community.
I don't know. I think that what makes this film so beautiful is that it's not centered around a man. It's not centered around love at all, if anything. But we'll see. I don't really know, but
It's not centered
I don't
around
know.
love.
I don't know. I don't know. She'd probably go both ways.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
You can tell from her awkward, stumbling response that she's trying her best not to offend the interviewer by saying, "What the fuck are you even talking about?" Because that would kick off an even worse shitstorm, while instead pivoting the conversation back towards the generic talking points that she's been given. She's doing exactly what every actor on the promo tour tries to do, she's just not very good at it. If she'd been a bit less drunk and a bit more experienced, she might have said something like, "It's awesome that the LGBT community have embraced Supergirl like this, and I think that's part of what makes the character so interesting. There's something in her that everyone can identify with, and that's why I'm super excited to be playing."
Yeah, I think the way I would respond is, oh no, it's just a character and a story. The politics were never really involved with we never think about emphasizing the struggles of anyone. I think the story should just stick with the story or something like that. Like the way she say it, it's obvious that she is catering to, a group of people, and it makes you look weak. It does. It makes you look weak. And then look at the situation with Scott Wiener, right? That guy, he did so many favors for the trans community. He even tried to protect them from going to jail when they're, doing something with minors. But the moment, he reveals that he's Jewish and he supports Israel, now the trans community hates his guts.
In her. Ever notice how politicians never really answer the questions they're given and instead just reframe them into the things they want to talk about? Well, that's exactly what actors are supposed to do when they're promoting their movie. And honestly, I blame the fucking studio, man. Not just for failing to give her the media.
Yeah, you basically just talk about the character and talk about the story. When they try to bring up politics, change the topic. That's how you're supposed to do it, right? Oh no, I don't really think too much about that. I'm just trying to focus on my job and be an actor, right? I'm just an actor. I'm not a politician. I wouldn't know anything about these topics. And it's totally fine. Yeah.
Media training she clearly needed, but for putting idiots like this in front of her in the first place. It's like that Mark Melkin guy. Would you say this is the gayest superhero ever? They had to know that questions like this were only ever going to appeal to a tiny percentage of the audience and alienate everyone else, but they did it anyway. They threw Millie Alcock to the wolves with this one, and I think that's a real shame because the fallout from this disaster is probably going to derail her career for years, if not forever. Myth number 2 is that the movie failed because men just can't stand to see women heading up superhero movies. Again, this is bullshit because how do you explain the success?
Yeah, because like Supergirl is, I don't know, if I had to bet, I bet it's not a Stan Lee's work. It's probably some intern in the DC community, the company, just, like, oh yeah, this includes females. I don't think Stanley made this character. The only ones that work out are like Storm from X-Men, right? Or what are some other chicks from X-Men? I think most of them are from X-Men. And those characters, they play they don't emphasize that they're female, okay? They just emphasize that they are mutants or superpowers. That's what they are. They don't try to flex their gender. Like, your gender is not a flex, believe it or not.
Of Wonder Woman. There was no real antagonism around that movie. Men and women both enjoyed it, and it was a critical and commercial hit.
Yeah, and she's hot. She is fucking hot. She is.
Why, you ask? Well, because the protagonist was likable, feminine, and actually heroic. She wasn't some prickly, aggressive bitch who had to turn every conversation into a battle of wills, or a walking inferiority complex who constantly had to prove herself better than everyone else, or some shitty feminist revenge fantasy out to punish and humiliate every single man in the movie. Men are perfectly happy to support female-led movies on 3 conditions. 1, they don't shit on men for the crime of simply existing. 2, the female lead is somewhat likable. And 3, they're actually good. Supergirl failed on at least 2 of those conditions. Arguably 3 if you want to be picky. It was a shit film and the protagonist was just plain unlikable. Right from the first trailer, Kara's
just being narcissistic and antagonizing every man that's trying to interact with them. Yeah, you don't really come off as a good person. You come off as a douche. A female douche.
Personality immediately turns you off, man. The writer probably thought it was super empowering and fresh to have a female hero who's messy and crazy and doesn't exist to live up to your expectations. But that's precisely the problem, partly because to outsiders, Kara comes across as lazy, arrogant, and self-absorbed, but mostly because you're treating the audience like unwanted baggage that the protagonist has got no time for, like some opponent who has to be defeated or corrected. People couldn't warm to this character because you gave gave us no reason to like her. In particular, you gave men no reason to like her. See, we've got no sisterly solidarity with female characters. We're not going to support them simply because they exist. So you have to work extra hard if you want to win us over. And win us over you must, because here's another uncomfortable truth for you. When it comes to superhero movies, men are your target audience.
Right.
You might hate them.
That's right. Men are only interested in superhero movies. For the most part, right? There's like, 2 or 3% of females that like it. I know a girl was crying over Iron Man. But none of my friends are deep into superheroes. None. They all much rather, like play Animal Crossing or buy cute anime stuff. That's just all my girlfriends do. They don't care about superheroes. Like, they don't care about muscles. Maybe a little bit, but not a lot. Like, only dudes enjoy looking at muscles and superpowers and, like fantasies of superpowers.
You might resent them, but men are who you have to appeal to. It doesn't matter
That's
how hard
right.
you pander, women are not going to suddenly show up en masse to support your feminist superhero movie, because for the most part, it just does not interest them.
That's
Men
why
are
Gal
who you need
Gadot's
to appeal
movies
to,
do
and you
really
failed
good.
big time with Supergirl. Also, there's no getting around this. The writing philosophy behind characters like Kara is like 5 years out of date now. As a culture, we are so fucking over the whole deconstructed hero thing now. It's not cool or edgy or inventive anymore. After more than a decade of this mean-spirited crap, it's become tired, dated, and played out. The very thing it was supposed to be a response to. The lazy comfort zone of hackneyed, cynical, and cowardly writers who are so afraid of doing anything real and authentic they'd rather hide behind irony and self-mockery. Speaking of which, myth number 3. People were just out to hate this movie because they want James Gunn to fail.
I don't know this guy.
I mean, as much as I love the idea of this army of embittered Snyder bros working in the shadows to orchestrate one of the biggest media destruction campaigns in history, I think you're investing them with way more power than they actually have. It's the same story with content creators like myself. Yeah, we might get a lot of views at times, but do you really think all the normies out there even know or care what we have to say about Supergirl? Of course they fucking don't. We don't make the news, we just report on it. But on the subject of James Gunn, I think it's fair to say that his creative vision for DC hasn't exactly been a winner so far. Why? Well, 2 reasons. 1, people are simply tired of his shit because the whole deconstructed cynical hero thing that's coming to the end of its cultural arc is literally all he knows how to do. It's woven into the DNA of every movie and TV show he produces, and it's so fucking played out now. And 2, his management of the DC brand makes Kathleen Kennedy look like a model of executive efficiency. I mean, shit, man, at least she actually turned a profit before she burned it all to the ground. He hasn't even managed to do that. His weird piecemeal approach to trickling out obscure, disconnected content with no particular structure, plan, or overarching narrative tying it all together just reinforces what most people already knew. James Gunn is a director at heart, not a studio head. He doesn't have the big picture creative vision to manage an entire cinematic universe like this, and if anything, he seems to get sidetracked on personal vanity projects like Peacemaker or Creature Commandos, while failing to lay down the building blocks that this franchise desperately needs.
Oh yeah, so he's just a purist. He just focuses on directing. That's all he does. He doesn't really think about like the politics or anything, which is good, right? It's a good principle to have when you go to work. But when you're too pure, you get taken advantage of. And that's why he got set up to do these shitty movies.
Say that a rising tide lifts all
Shitty plot, shitty production, shitty everything.
boats, and there's no better example of that than the MCU, where even dogshit movies like Black Panther 2 somehow made more than $860 million. DC, on the other hand, is still waiting for the fucking tide to come in, which means every film they release right now has to stand on its own merits. Any sane man in his position would have brought out the biggest guns in the arsenal. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Give them all their own solo adventures, then have them team up for some epic cinematic event movie. Then and only then can you use that momentum to launch the B-listers like Supergirl, Green Lantern, and fucking Booster Gold. Instead, Gunn's DCU is all arse about face, trying to open with shit that nobody cares about in a market for superhero movies that's rapidly shrinking. And well, the results speak for themselves. All of this is to say that, yeah, Supergirl was an entirely predictable failure, but not for the reasons that a lot of people seem to think. It probably would have failed at the box office even if it had been a decent movie, but as it turns out, it couldn't even manage to do that. And if this is what the future of DC on film looks like under James Gunn, well, you have to start asking yourself how much longer he'll be around. My guess is not long. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah. I mean, the woke era has come to an end, right? Obviously, no one wants to waste their time, having ideologies forced down their throats. Like, I paid money. I wanted a real story. I wanted entertainment. I don't want to learn about politics. And it's mostly men that watch superhero movies too. And why would a guy pay $15 to go to a theater to watch a woman that is not attractive condemn men, hate men, shit on men? Why would a guy want to pay money for that? Like, unless you're a masochist, there's no reason that a guy will want to pay money just to get shit on, to have their whole gender destroyed and dismantled by some narcissistic woman. Think about it.